Hey, how you doing there? So, the game is out. And while a lot of you have been following it since the very beginning and know everything works already, you're already jogging through the trail, so to speak. Some of you don't really know what's going on, which is fine. And we're going to go over how to make a character. Now, in the very back of the book, on page 142, there is a character creation easy guide, and it's basically define your character, choose your race, choose your job, choose your skills, and define your gear and weapons. As always, have fun and try not to die. But there is a bit more that goes into this than just choose your job, choose your race, yada yada. There's a lot of minutia you gotta think about when you're doing that. One of the biggest is that each race start out with has its own pluses and minuses. Even defining your character has a few bonuses along the way. Then your job gives you even more attributes and skills, and your job also gives you your starting gear. So there's a few things we gotta go over just so you guys have an easier way of just making your character. We'll go to the very top here. So more or less, you guys can read this. This shouldn't be too hard to figure out, but the first thing, I put this here on purpose. I want y'all to see what all this means, what the attributes do. And all attributes correlate to something you do in the game as well as a skill. There's brawn, there's cunning, there's moxie, there's brain power, and grit and ballistics. Brawn's how strong you are. Cunning's how cunning you are. Moxie is how, charismatic you are. Brain power's how smart you are. Grit's how tough you are. Ballistics is how well you can shoot. Then here's your defensive rating, because AC didn't really make sense in this game. Simply have a defensive rating. It's far more broad and generic a term than simply what your armor class is. You have your health points, and if your CC's using it, we have carrying capacity. So the first thing we want to do is choose your race. So we'll go down to the adorned here. So each race has, for one, art with it. Give you a quick overview of what that race may look like, or the general overview of what it may look like. A little lore blurb here, and then the real nitty gritty of it, the actual attributes. So an adorned, for instance, its base DR is 10. Their size is medium. They have their average height, their languages, average lifespan, their HP. And with HP, there's two things here you might notice. There's a bold number, or not bold number, a static number in a way, then a plus number. The 10, or in this case, the 10, the static number is what you start out with. Level 1, you have 10 HP. Then every level you get, your HP goes up by 7 HP. So the HP rate which you go up is set, but then also modified by your grit. If you look up here, I kind of missed that part. On grit, each point of grit your trooper has increases your max HP pool by 3 points. So if you want a really tough adorned, you pack in grit for all your attributes. But you have your movement, so 30 feet of movement per turn. You can carry 70 pounds on your person. Then you have your racial specialties. Like these guys start out with +2 ballistics, +2 brain power, and +1 cunning. These are basic, baseline plus whatevers. +1, +2, +2. And these cannot be modified in any way. Or they modify the base score. You can't modify these scores. It's simply what they come with. Then most of the races have a little ability, like bright-eyed. Like these guys can see well in low light. They have sunburn, so they're more akin towards night, so they don't see as well in the daytime. And they're owl-eyed, so with an adorned, you can re-roll 1 damage die per attack roll when attacking in low light or night conditions. So an adorned is all about attacking during low light or nighttime. Sorry, my phone went off there. Roy's professional here at Cardbro's field desk. So every race here is going to have something like that. It's going to have a racial ability bonus, whether it's an attribute or skill or a plus to hit on weapons. They have maybe a few negatives, a few positives, and a few abilities. So there's always little things on each race. So before you start out, go through and look at each race. And some races have a little sub-race, like the Centaur, for instance, have a draft, a charger, and a palfrey. They're all centaurs, but these ones do something different for these sub-races. So, for instance, more or less, the base DR of all of these, guys here is going to be 13. they're size large, except for the palfrey, which is size medium. That's why they're all down here. They all have their own average height because they're all different heights. They have a shared language. They have a kind of a shared lifespan. Their movement varies per sub race. Their base carrying capacity varies per sub race. All centaurs have a different exhaust rate and weight of hoof. However, the draft has, plus 10 HP gain. So their HP gained will more or less supersede others in a way. So they're all, like say here, HP 12 plus 6, there's actually plus 10 per level. So all centaurs start out at 12 HP, but drafts get plus 10 per level instead of plus 6 per level. Same time, though, chargers have a harder hitting weight of hoof attack, and they can have basically all their basic strikes and parries only cost 1 HP. The more in gain towards melee attacks. Palfreys are more smart. So always go through and look at all the races and figure out what do you want to play as? What kind of harpy do you want to play as? You want to play as a giant spider person. Go through and look at all the races and figure out which one looks good to you. And when you find your race that you want, you're going to go in and write down the pluses they give you and all these little special abilities. That way you have them. You would know, okay, I have 10 HP plus 5 per level. I have 40 feet of movement. I'm 11 DR. I can carry 60 pounds. I have all these pluses. I have all these abilities. And you go down till, you go through all the races. And there's a lot of races here. And I try to make them all somewhat unique, best you can. Choose your race and you find your defining histories. So here you go in and you want to see what they are, because all of these kind of matter. For instance, the religious background, you can pray to your chosen deity for a special boon, whether it's a +1 moxie or a +2 grit when you need it. You simply just pray for a boon, or pray for an advantage on something. The militant, you ignore the starting weapon rules for melee weapons. So you actually choose any melee weapon you want if you're allowed to, or if you can, because some of the jobs say in one melee weapon. Well, you can choose whatever you want for melee weapons. Agricultural, you start with a horse or another kind of farm animal. So you can have a cow or a goat if you want to do that way, or a horse, Nomadic is you start out with an Oniphalon draft and take a free roll on the potions section of the CC manual. So this one allows you to have a free draft horse and also a free roll on a unknown potion. So you're kind of gambling with the nomadic guy. You could have something really, really good or really basic. The industrial, you start out with 2 free rolls on the mundane and everyday loot section. So you start your game with 2 CC manual mundane items. Criminal, you start out knowing the spell Lugi's Lights. So the criminals already know a special hidden spell off the bat, as well as lockpicks and all that kind of thing there. Nobles, you have a free roll on the entire hidden magic and spells thing. So a noble can start out with a roll and know some kind of hidden spell. So these things actually matter on what you want to do, and how you want to play. Now, you should just all go for the noble because there are drawbacks. Like, nobles are more prone to being kidnapped and robbed than, say, a militant. A noble can't really rub shoulders with the other militant classes, while perhaps a religious or a industrial person could. There are drawbacks to all of these, and they're all kind of written in there, too. So, in addition to that, you got to define your flaws and your phobias. So you got to pick out a flaw and a phobia, and you kind of craft your character from there. After that, you're like, well, now you got to pick your job. So you scroll that, so you write down whatever the hell these things are. You go to your job. Now, each job, this is more or less your class in this game. So each job, again, gives you a skill or attribute bonus. Like the Veil Auxiliary, the basic rifleman. You get +1 rifles, +1 ballistics, and +1 demolitions. So you already got boom, 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 +1 to 3 skills. In addition to that, you have a starting equipment. So you start out with a helmet or a gas mask, BDUs or silkies and skin, a load-bearing vest or a plate carrier, a rifle with 6 magazines but not sniper rifles, either a grenade launcher with 8 rounds of HE or a belcher with 3 rounds of HE, a small backpack, a auxiliary kit, yada yada, so on and so on. So here you have starting equipment you can kind of go out with. And more or less for the rifles, if you scroll down to the rifle section, it's kind of a to-do. to make this is kind of the big part. The big part is your race and your job. In addition to that, you have your level up abilities. So as your auxiliary levels up, he'll gain access to level 3, like plus 1 your regen, or more damage to buildings or vehicles. You kind of go through, you unlock abilities, that kind of thing. You kind of unlock certain things as you level up. And there's all kinds of jobs. I'll do a quick overview while we're here. Like the auxiliary, you're a basic rifleman. You're kind of the Swiss Army knife of destruction in a way. The breacher's about going through walls and doors and getting to places. Battle buddy's about boosting up your fellow soldiers in a way. You can help them reload, that kind of thing. There's the chef. I think I know what a chef does. He cooks for people. The radio man calls down fire support. The battlefield forensics finds out and tracks things. Demolitions is all about blowing shit up and making holes where you need them. The gambler's about gambling. See how well you can do when things are high and tough. Guards things. He's all about keeping people off your back and making sure everything's secure. The irregular, bit of an odd one there. He's kind of a thinking away of a old guard from a town or a city or an old militiaman turning into kind of a mixed rifleman. These guys are more of a mixture of melee and range. The medic, he heals people, of course. He's the medic. Negotiator finds out the information you need. The EOD guy, he sets traps, takes traps, and has the fresh maker. The fresh maker is you strap a claymore or other such device to your plate carrier, and you're now a walking bomb. Scout, you scout things. You're usually sniper or as well a stealthy bowman. The transporter, you drive shit, and you get some fun tools to use later on. The gunner, you're a machine gunner. You gun stuff. Technician, you make stuff. Performer, you perform stuff and have a little charm effect table you always have. The brawler, you get in close, you beat shit to death. All of them are kind of fill a role in a way. And here is when you make your character. So you have your job. You have your race. You defined him. Now it's skills. All the skills you need. Now, when you create a PC or a trooper in this game, you have 7 skill points to use. And, of course, this is all for how you level up, what rank you have. But you have 7 skill points, and all these skills have 5 slots in a way. You can only purchase +5 in any skill. Now, these are added into the other attributes, like say you do Veil Auxiliary. Well, that gives +1 to rifles. And say you put +5 in rifles. Now you're +6 in rifles. Plus, your race may aid that. Now, the main difference is that these are the only way to generate additional attributes. That dog's tail is whacking that wall. Hey! What dog was ready to eat? So this is the only way to generate more attributes. This is the only way that a skill can generate an attribute. In this game, skills generate attributes. Like, say, acrobatics. For every skill point you put in acrobatics, you get +1 cunning. Now, in some of these, like demolitions, each point adds +1 to grit or brain power. So for each point you spend in that skill, you choose either +1 grit or +1 brain power. And you keep track of that. And it's all added together into a pool, you see. So 7 points you put in these skills. And we have acrobatics, animal handling, armor, bows, blacksmithing, bladed weapons, crafting, cooking and brewing, heavy weapons, healing, medical, mechanical, they're all here. But the important part to remember is that each time you spend a skill point in one of these, you choose a attribute for that skill point. So say you put 3 skill points in language, for instance. I keep burping, I'm sorry. So say you put 3 skill points in language. Well, then you can choose +3 moxie, +3 brain power, +1 brain power, +2 moxie, +1 moxie, +2 brain power. You can kind of choose a mix to a maximum of 3. That should be easy to follow. Now, someone's probably out there still confused. You know what? If you're still confused, send me a message. I'll walk you through it. I don't mind. But after you spend your skill points and you generate your attributes, they all get drawn together into a single pool you pull from. And keep in mind that when you level up in this game, the Veiled RPG, it's the depreciation, or the word for it that I'm currently brain blanking on. But more or less, level 2 you get 5, level 3 you get 4, level 4 you get 3. and so on and so forth. So you kind of generate less and less skill points as you level up. So they become quite important around, level 3. You gotta make sure you're putting them in where you want them. And then you have your NCO skills. So once you get level 14, you get these super awesome NCO skills, a non-commissioned officer skill. So level 14, you're damn near max level. There's only 15 levels to this game. So something to keep in mind. And more or less, when you do that, you're more or less good to go. You have your attributes all drawn up, your skills all drawn up, you add them all together. And one thing to remember is that when you're rolling to attack with a weapon, for instance, say you have a rifle. It's not just rifle skill and then 1d20. It's 1d20 plus your rifle skill plus ballistics plus marksmanship. And what you can do is you can simply have your entire attack modifier, your rifle skill, your ballistics, and your marksmanship all added together to one singular number, then that number plus 1d20. It's very easy to do and keep track of. And of course, you do have your starting gear. And this is right here as well. You're like, well, then why is the starting gear stuff here? There's some CCs like me who start someone out not with a job. It's an alternative start in a way. They can start off with a traditional fancy starting gear or a mercenary build in a way. So if you're a mercenary, you got to learn your job the hard way. So you start out with these basic weapons here. And of course, there's all these special rules we can go over later, but right now we're just making our character, right? So when you're done making your character, you're going to go all the way down here to the weapons. These are melee weapons. You figure what they do, how they do. And then you go down to the range combat weapons. You have all your range combat weapons. You have your bows, your slings, your pistols, your rifles, your submachine guns, your sniper rifles, your machine guns, LMGs, MMGs, all these fun things here. And then you go even past that and you'll have your equipment. So, like I said earlier, the auxiliary has, a helmet or something else. Well, then you have your helmet here. Then the gear can gear itself can also give you a plus to a attribute or a skill, but they don't generate like the skill points. It's simply a flat bonus of +1 or +2. So if you want to, say you want more armor or more resistance, well, you go for a helmet. If you want something different, you go for a booty cap perhaps, or you want a BDU, and no real bonus there, but it's a uniform. Or you can go with shirts and skins, or silkies and skin. So like this one gives you acrobatics and regen, but you're also literally half fucking naked running on the battlefield. So it's a bit different now there. And, chest gear, LBV adds AP regen, their armor adds DR and AP regen. They all matter. So always go through and figure out what you want in that way. But that's the basics, really. So if you have any questions in the comment section, let me know. You can contact me by email at robotranchkansas@gmail.com or on Twitter. Just a quick little down dirty video of how to make your character and kind of get going on that process. And hopefully, I'll see you guys out there having fun and creating your own battles.